Welcome to The Explainer. We're surrounded by this invisible force that powers pretty much everything. We're talking about electricity, of course, and today we're going to zero in on the hidden obstacle that actually makes things like your toaster work. Sounds weird, right? Let's get into it. All right, so this is part 12 of our big 20-part series on electricity from Virtualization Options LLC. Now, so far, we've talked about the push, that's voltage, and we've covered the flow, which is current. But there's this third piece of the puzzle, a really crucial one. The obstacle.
So let's really think about this. We've got two of the big three down. You've got voltage, right? That's the electrical pressure, the push. And you've got current, the actual flow of all those little charges. But what's to stop that flow from just going crazy? What gets in the way?
Well, that obstacle has a name, and it's called resistance. It's basically the property of any material that, pushes back against that flow of current. You can almost think of it like electrical friction.
And get this, every single material has at least some resistance. We measure it in a unit called ohms, and you'll see it written with that cool little omega symbol. It's named after the physicist George Simon Ohm. And it's simple. The more ohms something has, the more it fights back against that current.
You know that water pipe analogy we've been using? It works perfectly here. So if voltage is the water pressure and current is how fast the water is flowing, then resistance is like all the junk inside the pipe. It's like pebbles, gunk, friction, anything that makes it harder for the water to get through. The more resistance, the tougher it is for that current to flow. Simple as that.
So what actually determines how much resistance a material has? It's definitely not random. There are a few key things that can turn a wire from a superhighway for electrons into a total traffic jam.
Okay, first up, length. And this one just makes sense, right? A longer wire means the electrons have to travel a longer distance. That gives them way more chances to bump into atoms along the way. And every single one of those collisions adds up to more resistance. So, a shorter wire? Yeah, that's a much quicker, easier trip.
Then you've got thickness, or the cross-sectional area. Think about it. A really thin wire is like a tiny one-lane country road. It's going to get backed up, right? It creates a bottleneck. But a thicker wire, that's like a brand new 8-lane superhighway. There's tons of room for everyone to flow, so way less resistance.
And there are a couple of other big ones too. Temperature is a huge factor. When things get hot, the atoms inside the wire start vibrating like crazy, making it way more likely for electrons to crash into them. And of course, the material itself is probably the most important part. Something like copper is a great conductor. It's an easy ride. But an insulator, like rubber, that's basically a giant do not enter sign for electrons. Okay, so here's the really cool part. These three things we've been talking about, voltage, current, and resistance, they're not just separate ideas. Nope, they are all locked together in this beautiful, simple relationship. A guy named George Ohm figured this out way back in 1827. And it's pretty much the golden rule for electricity. And in plain English, Ohm's law just says this: if you push harder, you get more flow. But if you add more obstacles, you get less flow. That's just intuitive, right? It makes perfect sense. More push equals more flow. More obstacles equals less flow.
And the math behind it is just as elegant. You've probably seen this famous triangle or pyramid for Ohm's law. It shows you how these three are always perfectly balanced. The main formula is voltage equals current times resistance. Or, as you'll see it everywhere, V equals I times R. The beautiful thing is, if you know any two of those, you can always figure out the third one.
Let's put this into action with a super quick example. Say you have a standard 9-volt battery, and you connect it to something with 18 ohms of resistance. How much current is actually going to flow? Well, we just shuffle the formula around a bit. Current is just voltage divided by resistance. So 9 volts divided by 18 ohms, that gives you 0.5 amps. Half an amp. See, it's really that straightforward.
Now you might be thinking, okay, if resistance is this obstacle that gets in the way, shouldn't we be trying to get rid of it all the time? And that's a great thought. But actually, no, it's the complete opposite. We actually harness resistance. We design things to have it on purpose. So, is resistance always a bad thing? Absolutely not. And this is where it gets really clever. We figured out how to turn this so-called obstacle into an incredibly useful tool. Remember that electrical friction we talked about? Well, when you have friction, what do you get? You get heat, and sometimes you even get light. Just look at the stuff we use every day. An old incandescent light bulb, that tiny little filament inside has a ton of resistance. And when you force current through it, it gets so incredibly hot that it starts to glow. That's your light. Or think about your toaster or an electric heater. Those glowing red coils? They are literally just wires designed to have super high resistance, turning electricity straight into heat. Even a simple fuse is a perfect example. It's just a little piece of wire with high resistance that's designed to be the weak link. It melts and breaks the circuit before your expensive electronics do. So, the big takeaway here is that resistance isn't a bug, it's a feature. We've totally mastered it. That electrical obstacle is exactly what gives us light, what gives us heat, and what protects our circuits. In a way, the obstacle becomes the tool. And it's just a fantastic example of how understanding one of these fundamental rules of physics lets us build the amazing world we live in.